Hello out there, this is Dr. BMS. It is a cool Sunday morning and I'm relaxing under my favorite mango tree outside my house. Nairobi is a bit dry and dusty, but thank God it is cool and serene. And this is what I like most about Sundays. I take my Sunday to be a day of relaxation, reflection, and planning, especially after I have attended a church service and I come back home. And when I sit under this tree to relax, reflect, and feel calm, I just remembered what some of my patients tell me when they come into rehabilitation. And they have been with us for a few weeks. And this is what I would like to talk about today: the hidden peace and calm that rehabilitation opens up to reforming addicts. In a previous video, I talked about how alcohol and drugs desynchronize and disempower our bodies, starting from one system, one part of the body to the next. And I talked about the digestive system, how alcohol will make your body not be able to use food well until you develop alcohol malnutrition. We could talk about many other parts of the body and other systems, but we will go today with the example we gave last time about the digestive system. So when people who are in addiction decide to reform, they normally come into rehabilitation, where the rehabilitation center helps them to reform and become clean again. And most of the people coming into rehabilitation, unfortunately, are coerced or pushed into it by their family members. A few of them come willingly, but the majority are usually brought in by some form of coercion or ultimatum from family, from employer, from courts of law, probation officers, and all those. And so we are used to getting people who come in unwilling. They may be sulking, some of them may be kicking and yelling, some of them are threatening they will never talk to their family members again. But we encourage the family members who bring them that just hold on there, and soon they'll be talking a different thing. And this is exactly what happens after they have stayed in rehabilitation for a few weeks and the healing has started to happen. Then the hidden peace that I'm talking about starts to reveal to themselves, and they open up to welcome it, and they come to me and to other of our staff telling us about how they feel nice about their new state. I remember one case of a patient who was brought into a rehabilitation by his sister and mother, and they conspired to bring him against his will because he was never going to accept anyway. So they waited until he had had his drink and he was in a drunken stupor. Then they just carried him and brought him to rehabilitation. When he woke up, he found himself in the center. So he was a bit sad and protesting a little bit for a number of weeks. Then as he started to heal and he started to lighten up and open up and talk to us, one day he told me something which I remember. He said, "You know, doctor, my sister and my mother conspired to kidnap me and bring me into rehabilitation against my will. But looking at it, I'm happy that they brought me, and I wish they had kidnapped me earlier." So this was just a manifestation of a person who had started experiencing the peace, the calm that rehabilitation opens up to reforming addicts, which they had not known for a long time that it exists. I want to talk about this in Dr. BMS style of body, mind, and soul. So, what is this peace? What is this calm that rehabilitation opens up to the reforming addict from their bodies? I call it homeostatic synchrony versus asynchrony. In a previous video, I talked about how drugs of addiction, including alcohol, desynchronize, detach the body or parts of the body from the rest of the body so that the body is not working as one piece. And I use the digestive system where alcohol, I said, detaches the digestive system from the rest of the body such that when you eat food, the digestive system is supposed to absorb and use that food to nourish the body. But now it's been detached of by alcohol and drugs of addiction. It's not doing its work well, so you start suffering malnutrition, like you don't have food, yet you have food. So, when a person who is using drugs of addiction comes into rehabilitation, the body starts experiencing a peace, a calm, a healing ahead of the mind and the soul. And this healing, this calm the body experiences is what I'm calling homeostatic synchrony, as opposed to asynchrony or desynchrony, which I described in the earlier video. How does this manifest? People who come into rehabilitation, all parts of their body experience a healing, a change. If I mention just a few, many of the people who come into our center report lack of sleep. They are not able to sleep well. And the first few days they ask me, "Doctor, can you give me something to make me sleep? I don't sleep well." So I prescribe a sleeping pill. But I tell them this is just for a short period of time because soon you will not need it. Some don't believe me, but it comes to pass that they are able to sleep well and to have rest, and they wake up with their bodies rested and rejuvenated. That is one great piece they encounter in rehabilitation. They are able to eat food and retain it and feel the benefits of food. The nausea, the loss of appetite is gone, and people who are in rehabilitation spectacularly gain weight. When you come into rehabilitation, as one of the tests we do, we take your weight, and over time we monitor your weight. Sometimes for those who are willing, we even take a picture, and we will show you later when you have healed that this is how you used to look like. And they always remark, "Hey, I've gained weight, nimenona, nimekuwa mkubwa," because the body starts to experience that peace, that healing, by using food in a way that it had not used before. Some people experience a resurgence of memory. They could not remember things. They could not retain information in their heads for a period of time. But now they tell you they can remember things that they had difficulty remembering. Those who are students can start studying again, making use of their notes and aspiring to go back to school. Another area of calm, of peace that people in rehabilitation experience is to do with the mind. And in the mind, they start having a calm of mind which exhibits as peace. I call it mental and social congruence versus incongruence. The congruence is the harmony, is the peace that they are exhibiting, they are experiencing, which is the good thing. The incongruent is what was there before. They were restless. They were at war with the whole world. The family blamed them for being alcoholics, for being addicts. They blamed the family members for picking on them, for not understanding. And so there was disharmony in the family. Family members used to worry about them. When they leave the house, maybe they are going to drink, maybe they are not going to drink. And they would say this, and the person using drugs of addiction will always say, "Why are you always picking me. So quarrels and disagreements will erupt all the time. When they come into rehabilitation, they experience that peace of family harmony. And the harmony starts with themselves. They are at peace with themselves. They don't have to explain or worry that someone will judge their action or see them in a way that they did not want to be seen. They can now stand out in the sun and be seen and talk about themselves. They can start being themselves again. They also experience inner peace in their souls as individuals. This calm that comes by knowing that you are at peace with your family, with your friends, and that your body is not going to ache anymore. You are not going to vomit. You are not going to stagger and fall into a ditch. You are not going to wake up in the middle of the night and not fall asleep again. That peace that comes with knowing that things are okay creates an inner calm. And this inner calm replaces a torment, a suffering that these people have been experiencing before they came into rehabilitation. I think this is what the patient I told you about, this is what he was experiencing. He had started experiencing an inner calm. And then now, when he reflected back on the journey he had traveled, he was grateful that his family brought him to the rehabilitation center, although the circumstances of his coming were not as he would have wished. This inner peace of the soul then transforms to change your thinking. It transforms to change your belief systems. You see, people, when they're in addiction and it has taken their body, their mind, and their soul, it changes their belief system such that they start to see like the way of drugs is the only way. Probably that is a curse they have been given. Probably there's nothing that can be done. They resign to their fate. And they wish everyone would be like them, but they are not. So they think that their way, people are opposed to it because they do not understand them. It's like they're trying to convince the world to join their religion, to join their way of life. So when they come into rehabilitation, there's a conversion of the soul as the calm starts coming to them from simple things like being able to sleep, being able to eat well, gaining weight, and starting to look bright and happy with people. Then it also transforms into their inner beliefs. Their soul starts to change. They start to see that, what I thought was a curse was in fact not a curse. It was alcohol, it was cannabis, it was mirror. So now I can actually be okay. I can wake up and do my own things without having to worry about where the next drink will come. That conversion of a soul is perhaps the highest inner peace, the highest reward that people get when they come into rehabilitation. And talking about rehabilitation, let me digress for a moment to talk about our sponsor for today's video, the Fountain of Hope Treatment Center. Fountain of Hope Addiction Treatment Center is a rehabilitation center in Nairobi, and it is a wholesome rehabilitation center where people who are suffering from addiction, all kinds of addiction, from mental health problem, come in and they are able to receive comprehensive health care which incorporates their families, so that when they leave rehabilitation, not only have they healed in their bodies, but they have healed their relationships with their families, and hope is restored that they can be reintegrated back into their families and become useful members of the family as they take on the new life. The last thing I will talk about is the peace that comes to the whole family when they make a decision to take their loved one into rehabilitation. You see, as a family, when you have one of your members in alcohol and drug abuse and addiction, You face stigma, people point fingers. Neighbors are always saying your son is a drunkard. And you live a very stressful life. You are anxious. You do not know if your son leaves the house, whether he will come back alive or dead. And as a coping mechanism, some families become codependent. They start adjusting their lives to be able to suit that one of the addict. We talked about codependency in one of the earlier videos. These are coping mechanisms that a family in addiction resorts to as they adjust to having one of their member being addicted to drugs and alcohol. So in the whole process, the family loses, the family stagnates. They are not able to move forward in their plans like they would have wished to, because they feel they cannot go forward and leave one of their own behind because of the addiction they are stuck in. So this stagnation as a family causes turmoil, causes disharmony within the family, and some families despair. They feel like they have reached the end of their wits. When they bring someone into rehabilitation, we always start by telling them you've made a very good decision to bring one of your own into rehabilitation, and not only will he benefit, but you as a family too will know more peace, you'll know more healing, you'll progress more than you did before. And ultimately, it's a win-win situation for both the individual and the family when they choose to bring their own who is addicted into rehabilitation, and they start discovering the hidden peace that rehabilitation opens up the person in recovery. Later on, as this person continues into their journey, they are reminded through this peace that they enjoy that the things they were looking for in alcohol, in miraa, in cannabis, in using drugs, are actually found when you are not using these drugs. That is why there is this famous saying that sobriety is what delivers the things that addiction had promised you. In short, addiction is a liar. Be sober, you will enjoy the good things that you wish for, which you thought you can only get when you indulge in drugs and alcohol. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.